Darren from Property Prosperity. I know a lot of the media and a lot of people have a negative perception about property developers, and they sort of have this perception they're out there trying to screw people over. They're out there purely focused on the money and how much money they can make, and they're stealing properties off little old ladies, and then selling it for massive profits, and then it sort of seems like they're taking advantage of people. And so I thought today I'd have a bit of a chat to you and sort of explain to you that's not always the case, and that you can actually be, what I refer to as an ethical property developer, in the sense that there doesn't have to be a winner and a loser when involved in property development. So, example wise, it might be a situation where I might even buy a property at market value, and then you can actually buy it at market value, but purely by the fact that the knowledge and experience you have, you can actually create extra value in the property. And so, that might be knocking the house down and subdividing. It might be renovating the existing house. It might be doing a whole pile of different things. You're not necessarily, the person that's selling to you is still buying it. They're selling it to you at market price. It's just purely by the fact that you can create some extra value out of the property. It's going to make a big difference to the value of that property. And the crazy thing is you can actually on-sell it to the next person. You don't actually have to hyperinflate or overinflate it, because you can actually, the best developers, I suppose, might even sell at a bit of a discount, because what that means is you can sell the property relatively quickly. And so you can buy it, develop it, and then sell it off at a discount. So the next person buying it buys it at a discount. So they've essentially made some money. The person that you bought it off bought it at market price, so they're happy. And then you've managed to make a couple of bucks along the way to, just purely by the fact you've created extra value that wouldn't have otherwise been there if you hadn't have done the development, basically. So I thought I'd just let you know, you don't necessarily have to take advantage of anybody. It can be fair for everyone, the process of developing a property. And the other scenario too is people aren't always doing it for the money. I've been involved in hundreds of developments, helped lots of people for lots of different scenarios. And it's quite a few examples where I've done developments for people where they haven't made any money at all. A scenario might have a little old lady in a house that's, fallen down around her. She doesn't have the money to renovate the house. And so, I'll help her knock down that big old house on a big block, and then we'll subdivide it, and then we'll sell one block of land off. That'll then be able to help her pave to build the house. So essentially she's end up with a brand new house on a smaller block rather than a big house on a big old house on a big block. And so in that situation, she doesn't even have to make any money, because what she really wanted was a property that, just a brand new house, like a small house that then would be a lot more cost effective for her. She wouldn't have to worry about maintenance costs and a whole pile of other stuff. And quite often you find actually that small house on the small block is probably worth more than the big house in the big block, purely because it's more desirable for most people. Most people aren't necessarily looking for, an old worn out house on a big block, essentially. So you can sort of see it's not always about the money. There's also the situation too is the government, I don't know if you know, but in Adelaide, they've got something called the 30-year plan for Greater Adelaide. So what they're trying to do is plan out the next 30 years of where people are going to live over the next 30 years. So that the reason they wanted to plan it out is they don't want haphazardly, just subdivision or developments to happen all over the place. And particularly what they don't want to happen, they just don't want all these big farms turning into hundreds of blocks of land, because the reason they don't really like that is because it just creates all these issues as far as infrastructure, all the services like water and gas and electricity, roads and, councils, and then they've got all the council verges, and they've got parks, and they've got schools. And so by building more and more houses further and further out from the city, it creates all these infrastructure problems, as well as, the issue that most people still work in the city. So most people are going to have to drive to work, which creates a whole pile of traffic problems as well. So basically in Adelaide, what they've tried to do in the 30-year plan for Greater Adelaide is they want it mainly to be infill development. And infill development basically means they want people to live where people already live, because that's where all the services are all set up. We've already got schools and parks. Hey, John, thanks for joining. We've already got schools and parks and all the services like water and gas and electricity already down the street. So really for the next 30 years in Adelaide, they're a lot more focused on, rather than expanding out and going wider and wider and wider out into the countryside, which is going to create a huge amount of problems. What they're trying to do is get people to build within the existing boundaries of Adelaide. And so the benefits of that is, as far as the council was concerned, they don't have to build all this extra infrastructure. They don't have to build all these extra, schools and shops and all the, services like water and gas and electricity. All those extra things are already there. So basically they can just connect up to what they've existing got. But then likewise, then they can also go through and knock down some of those older houses that are a bit worn out and got a few issues, and then they can subdivide and build newer houses and less hassles and less maintenance, and a whole pile. Works out a lot better for the community. Basically, obviously, works out good for the council as well, because they get two people paying council rates rather than one person. So you can sort of see why Adelaide's plan would make sense. Why you want people to live in sort of denser housing, I suppose. But likewise, minimum block size in Adelaide in most council areas is probably about a 300 square metre block. So it's still probably a detached house, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single or double garage house. So it's still got the lifestyle of the houses we like in Adelaide. So it's not going, high density as far as apartment complexes and all that sort of stuff. But it's also alleviating some of those issues as far as infrastructure and a whole pile of other costs or effects that has on society as well. So you can sort of see the benefits of why development may be a good thing. At the end of the day, we're always, so far, population continues to grow. So unless we can try and work out a way how we can reduce population, which, it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the short term, then we're going to need houses for someone to live. And that's where developers are going to come in. And, essentially, I understand everyone looks at developers as making lots of money and that's all they care about. But really, in reality, they're putting more supply in the market, more supply of housing. And everyone keeps complaining about the markets, the house prices keep going up. House prices are going to continue to go up as long as the population continues to grow and supply stays the same, then house prices are going to go up. So the only way to alleviate that is to build more houses and supply more to the market. And so if there's more supply and the same amount of demand, then essentially house prices are going to come down, or at least not going to grow as quickly as they otherwise would. So you can see why it's really important that development does happen. You can see why it's not necessarily a bad thing. There's lots of scenarios where people develop properties not necessarily out there to try and screw somebody else out there, or to just purely focused on profiting. There is a whole pile of benefits to the community in developing properties, as well as making a few dollars along the way. So hopefully it's made sense, and hopefully you can see that not all developers are bad guys. I'm not saying necessarily all developers are good guys. I'm sure there's some dodgy developers out there, but at the end of the day, I suppose just like every industry, there's going to have good people that do the right thing, and there's going to be some not so good people that choose to disregard all the rules and be a bit dodgy. So hopefully you've liked what I had to say. If you have liked it, click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, still click on the like button, because I really appreciate it. And if you've got an experience where you've either done a development yourself and you found everyone's one and it hasn't worked out good for everybody, or you've had an experience where a developer's come to you and they've done a development with you and you've had a good experience and it's worked out good for everyone, essentially, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to learn more about it. And if you've got something you'd like me to talk about in the future episode, put a comment in the comment box and I'm happy to have a chat about it. Thanks, guys. Look forward to catching you next time. Bye.